All right. Hi, YouTube. Hi, world. Welcome to a new video. And I've decided that I'm going to make a video. And so let's jump right in. Before I start the video, I just want to say a big shout out to our friend here, Medius from Russia. And he's playing some atmospheric jungle mixes. It's going to help, I think, create a nice scene as we take a dive into the Eastern Front. So I hope you enjoy. With that said, today's video is going to be an interesting topic, as the title already suggests. We're going to try to go on a map on the Eastern Front and basically get a feel for where are all the major Soviet armies that were destroyed in 1941. And so the primary source I'm using for this work is going to be When Titans Clash. This book is by David M. Glantz and Jonathan M. House. This is the main book that I've been reading thus far in my dive into World War II history. So big shout out to them. This is like a really great starting book if you want to learn about the Eastern Front as a historian. And so what I've done is I've taken their data. They have all these data tables in the back, and I've made an Excel sheet, and I've essentially polished the data table and to one step in my effort for essentially the cleaning phase of data science. And the idea is that we can just start archiving as much data as we can on the Eastern Front. And so this table here, I've actually combined two data tables, but we basically are going to have data tables for destroyed Soviet units as well as active Soviet units. And I figured, for the sake of this video, to keep the video of a good length, we're going to focus on just the destroyed Soviet units, and let's just one by one just try to put them on this map. This map is, I also have to give credit to the makers of this map. It is openstreetmaps.org. They're open source, but they're basically like a Google Maps. This is the same group that used the map for the big map data that right now is in the Russo-Ukrainian war. I can put a link on that map as well if you're interested. But we're going to focus on Eastern Front of World War II. And so I have here just a simple image of this map, and I'm just going to start placing this little icon I have here on the left, which basically is going to represent our Soviet armies. And the Soviet armies that are destroyed. And then at the end of the video, we can kind of compare it with a historical source and see how well we did, basically. And so let's start. I figured I would just do this in front of y'all because I think some of y'all would be pretty interested. So we're just going to get this Excel sheet and just try to extract the data one by one. See how good my efforts to categorize the data, see how well it paid off. So the first unit that I'm seeing here that is destroyed is going to be the Soviet 10th Army. It was destroyed on July 5th, 1941, according to our data. And I'm going to grab this icon here, and the location, which is important to know, is around Bialystok in Minsk. And so we got to look at the map here and look for Bialystok in Minsk. And so this is where we got to practice a little bit of our Russian, basically. Here, this territory here, this is a modern map, keep in mind. So it's not a map of the way the countries looked back in 1941. But you can hear this is Belarus, right? This is the Cyrillic alphabet, but Belarus is right there. Definitely a language that we're trying to get better at. So the capital is going to be Minsk. And so let's see here. This is Mogil. I think this is Mogilev, I believe. What is this? This is, I think this is Vitebsk. If I'm pronouncing that right, at least from what I remember on the World War II side. We're looking for Minsk and Bialystok, right? I know that's going to be somewhere around here in this sector here. And this area here, this is Grodno. And then over here we've got Warsaw, we've got Brest over here. And so we're looking for Bialystok, and I'm not entirely sure where it's going to be. So, but I'm pretty sure it's somewhere around here. I know that it's basically it's Eastern Poland or Western Belarus. It's going to be somewhere around here. what is this? Babruisk? No, it's not Babruisk. I think it's somewhere around here. We have got Vilnius, we got Kaunas, we got Grodno. I think it's somewhere around here. I know it's pretty much between Grodno and Brest, or it was formerly known as Brest-Litovsk. So we're gonna put it here. And we also said somewhere around Minsk, so we'll put it around here. This has to be the Minsk, because you can kind of see from the rings there that we're having like a lot of infrastructure, and that's the capital of Belarus. So I'm gonna put this as the 10th Army right there. Boom, we got one down. And then I'm just gonna make more copies of this. And then we're gonna start putting more armies down. So that's one, we got the first Soviet army identified. Let's find the next one. We've got the 4th Army here that was destroyed at Smolensk. This was destroyed in the July 26th, 1941. So later on, I wonder if I should put the dates there. Maybe we should. I'm just gonna put right next to that. We'll say, oh, that's not gonna work, is it? I think we'll, how do I wanna do this? I think I'm gonna ruin my video here. I think we're gonna just leave it like that for now. Maybe in a future video I can have the dates. I think the dates would be really helpful. That's not what I had planned, so we're just gonna go ahead and save that for another time. But anyways, July 26th, around Smolensk is the 4th Army. So I'm gonna put this near Smolensk. Smolensk is gonna be somewhere around here, because I know that it is between Moscow and Minsk. And here's Orsha. This is where some major tank battles took place. This is definitely Mogilev, and I believe Smolensk is going to be right around here. In fact, that might be it right there. In the Cyrillic alphabet, C is an S sound, followed by the M, O. This little pi symbol is an L. That is Smolensk right over there. Okay, so I'm going to put it right here. And that was the 4th Army, so I'll put a 4 there. All right. Okay, moving along, make another copy here. Let's see what we have for the next destroyed army. And I have here, we're gonna have a cluster of destroyed Soviet units that were destroyed apparently back to back. But we have another one destroyed at Smolensk. This is the 16th Army. This was destroyed August 8th, 1941. So we're kind of going in chronological order as far as dates. But yep, 16th Army. It's going to be around Smolensk as well. So let's get that guy. We'll basically put him here. It's probably going to be a cluster of Soviet units that were encircled and destroyed right over there. Alright, and then we have a few more, several more. Next one, we got 2 units at Uman. And I know that these units are going to be much more south, the 6th and the 12th Armies at Uman. So if we scroll down here, and we just got to look for Uman. And it doesn't look like at this scale of the map we actually have Uman. But I believe Uman was somewhere around this sector here. It is western Ukraine. And very, very far south we have, I think this is Mykolaiv, if I'm pronouncing that right. Here's Moldova. I believe Uman is roughly around here, somewhere around this sector there. And so we're gonna put it there. This is, of course, this is really, so see if this is, again, we're trying to give you all something to at least watch as we continue our research. And I think it's important that we put into practice. So anyways, we said the 6th Army and the 12th Army. There we go. Alright. Boom. 2 units there. And we can keep moving along. Roslavl. Now this is an area that I may not be familiar with, but we got the 28th Army, Roslavl. Now where would Roslavl be? Not entirely sure, folks. I'm trying to think. Roslavl, where would that be? This is where we can turn to Google for some guidance. See what we can find. Roslavl, town in Russia, that's right. pull up the good old Google map, see where we can find this. Okay, so we're actually, oh, it's south of Smolensk. Okay, and it's gonna be east of Mogilev. Okay, so we can go back. And oh, here is Bryansk, which is another major city of this area. It's pretty much evenly between Bryansk and Smolensk, it looks like. So if we got Bryansk over here, Smolensk over there, we can put that unit right up here. And which unit was this? It was not the 12th, it was the 28th Army. We'll put it right over there. Okay. All right. So far, so good. And let's see. A few more units to keep exploring, don't we? We've got here Chudovo. 48th Army. Now we're in the month of September. And Chudovo, again, another area that I am not familiar with. So we'll turn to Google Maps for help for that. Chudovo. Novgorod Oblast. Okay, so I know. Okay, it is the Novgorod. Novgorod is near Leningrad or St. Petersburg, formerly known as Leningrad. And Novgorod was a sector, pretty much a major city on the way towards Leningrad from the south, effectively. And this is one of the main routes that Army Group North took to essentially cut off Leningrad. And so Chudovo seems to be a small town or a city, perhaps. I think it's going to be a town that's more or less between St. Petersburg, Leningrad, and Novgorod. And so we can go back to our PowerPoint up here, scroll further up, and we're talking about if this is Veliki Novgorod, like, you know, that B there is going to make a V sound. And then again, that pi symbol is an L. Veliki Novgorod. If I've pronounced that right, work in progress. And it seems to be kind of at this kind of like cut angle. So I'm pretty sure right at that corner is where Chudovo is. Right there. You can kind of see it's like this straight road that all of a sudden kind of vectors off more to the south, right? So we can put another unit there. This was the 48th Army that was defeated there. All right. And then we can just keep going. I'm having fun, folks. This is pretty interesting already. Just the fact that we have some red squares on the map. I'm already getting pretty excited as a historian, military historian, of course. So let's keep going. More units that were destroyed. We have 3 more units that were destroyed at formerly known as Kiev under the Soviet Union, but nowadays the capital city of Ukraine is known as Kiev. Pronunciation is slightly different there. 3 armies, 26th, the 5th, and the 37th. So let us get those units on the map. See, I said 26th, 37th, and the 5th, right? 26th, 5th, 37th. 26th, 5th, 37th. So we're just going to pretty much cluster them around Kiev. You can see that on this map it's spelled with an I because in Ukrainian that's the letter I, but in Russian I believe they actually don't even have the same that same I. They use a different kind of symbol for an I. It's like a funny looking N, basically. But the idea is we basically have these 3 formations, and we're going to cluster them around modern day Kiev, formerly known as Kiev. So we have mentioned the 26th, 5th Army as well, and we also have the, what was it, 37th. That's right. So another cluster of Soviet units that were defeated 1941. Let's continue. Let's see how reliable the David Glantz source really is. And then let's continue. We got a few more, several more. Here's another one at Vyazma, 24th Army at Vyazma. And this battle, I believe, is much closer towards Moscow. In fact, Vyazma, now we're in the month of October 1941, so this is now Operation Typhoon. And we don't have Vyazma on the map, but I know that it's somewhere up here. It's on the western approaches towards Moscow, or as the Russians would say, Moskva, capital of good old Russia or former Soviet Union. Somewhere around here is Vyazma. We'll turn to Google for help there. Vyazma. See if we can find Vyazma. It says Vyazma, Smolensk Oblast. Hope we're not confusing that with Smolensk. Okay, I think this is it. Yeah, it's basically between Smolensk and Moscow. Right? It's going to be on one of the main roads. It's pretty much the next major city or town on the approaches to Moscow. I believe it's a town. So if we go back, if that's Smolensk, then we've kind of assessed that Vyazma is going to be definitely on this yellow road here, right? Probably around there. And as far as the actual army that was destroyed there, it was the 24th Soviet Army. I know that was part of the Soviet Strategic Reserve. So this is already Operation Typhoon. And we got several more. We're not done. This was a busy year for the Eastern Front. The German basically Hail Mary attempt at, which is a football term in sports, but it's essentially the all-out attempt to destroy the Soviet Union. And so they went all out. They were trying to encircle many, many, many additional formations. In fact, even at Vyazma, we have two more Soviet armies that are encircled, the 31st and the 32nd. Again, part of the Soviet Reserve. So this is the 31st. Oops, not the 21st. 31st. We're going to move this over. It was actually part of the same cluster. So another Soviet cluster encircled. And then we also said the 32nd. I'm going to put that right over here. Okay. So already we have about 5 Soviet clusters, 2 of which have 3 units encircled, and a few single armies that were encircled. Let us continue. We have also 3 more Soviet destroyed armies. Wow, another 2 at Vyazma according to our source. So this is a considerably large cluster. But we also have the 19th and 20th there as well. The 19th. And then we also have the 20th. Put it right over here. So already this, according to our David Glance source, this is the largest cluster we have so far, presuming they were all encircled around the town of Vyazma. So, oof, that's a big loss for the Soviet army indeed. Was a big loss. Southwestern axis, we have the 10th Army. Looks like this army would have been rebuilt. Now, I'm not exactly sure what the southwestern axis really entails. It might be part of the Soviet Southwestern Front. So if I'm just gonna take a wild guess here, and I believe since if we look at the date, we're already in October. And this is when the Germans went all in towards Moscow. So I'm assuming they mean the southwestern axis of Operation Typhoon. So I'm going to assume maybe it's somewhere around Bryansk, east of Bryansk. Right? Because I know the southern axis went towards Tula. It was trying to go towards Tula, which is another city south of Moscow. So we're just going to guesstimate, put it over there. And then as we continue, we have another, we already took care of those 2. And then we have another Soviet army here that was destroyed. The 26th was once again destroyed, this time at Bryansk. And we're going to see some units actually repeating themselves because truth is, Soviets were rebuilding these units as they were being encircled. So, I don't know if I should indicate, like a second build. No, we'll do that another time. But it's important to note that we have a 10th Army and a near, what was it, Bialystok, and 26 at Kiev. And then we see the two armies repeating themselves again. That's because these armies were being rebuilt as the German army was advancing. So we should, just reclass their cadres as this new formation. Chances are the Soviet HQ survived, the headquarters, and they just needed more manpower to fill in the ranks. So it goes to show the adaptability of the Soviet army, the powerful Soviet reserves being put in action. We only have 3 more left for this year. We've got 1 more in November and 2 more in December. We have the 19th Army. This is now in November 1941. This is near, I know that this is Stavka Reserves, this abbreviation. So chances are, if it's Stavka Reserves, by this point, it's going to be on Moscow. So we're just going to put it right around here. Somewhere, I'm not exactly sure, but somewhere in the vicinity of Moscow, because Stavka Soviet High Command was defending Moscow. This is like where Stalin decided not to leave the city. So chances are the entire Soviet headquarters remained in Moscow for the defense of the Battle of Moscow. They were not going to pull out. Or at least they didn't. And then technically the last 2 units are not destroyed, but rather they're disbanded. And I think these armies are actually converted into shock armies. That's exactly what happens. These 2 units are actually converted. The 26th Army is converted into the 2nd Shock Army, and the 27th Soviet Army is converted into the 4th Shock Army. So technically they were not destroyed. But in essence, based off of our David Glantz source, again, this book is just a kind of a simple overview of the entire Eastern Front. So it's a really great starting book, kind of covers the entire Eastern Front, 41 to 45. And so given that it's a 1 book, I would say that, given that it's a book that covers the whole entire war, we have an interesting diagram here to at least show, more or less the placement of where these Soviet units were destroyed in 1941. And I gotta say, this is the first time I'm looking at this. I probably should save this document. And it's an interesting look. I mean, I'm like, I'm kind of approaching it with an open mind myself, trying to make sense of it. But now here's the real test. Now let's compare it to a fully thorough map of the Eastern Front. I know that most military historians have seen this map. It's a very popular map. But for those of you who are getting into, World War II history, if you do a quick Wikipedia search for Operation Barbarossa, this is the main map. And some of you may be wondering, like, what's the actual source of this map? I was wondering that myself, and I was able to find it through WikiLinks. And basically, it comes from where is it? It comes from the History Department of the United States Military Academy. So that's pretty interesting. I did not even know that the U.S. government had a Department of History, frankly. But it's West Point. That's really what it is, folks. So this is a main source for basically the U.S. Army officer program, West Point. So it's their primary program, right? It's their primary officer academy, and this is apparently was created by them. So it's a very interesting map. So it's, obviously, as a historian, you want to look at where your sources are coming from, and I definitely think this source is going to be quite reliable. But you never know. I mean, depending on when the source was made, keep in mind that probably every source has a little bit of bias. But nevertheless, this is an extremely detailed map. It's certainly the one I've seen like dozens of times, and I think it's probably one of, if not my favorite map of the Eastern Front. It has to be, because I love the attention and detail this map has. There's the swamps, the pre-pit swamps, and we can really just look at all the encircled units, which is really the point of this exercise. And this is what I'm trying to do. I want to kind of compare what this map has versus what we've been able to make based off of the David Glantz source, and just see, like, how accurate was, our our diagram of the David Glance source, right? Of the simple overview. So if I can just get myself a little organized here. Yeah, there we go. And I'm looking, and you know, it's probably easier we just zoom out, I think. Kind of want them to both be of roughly the same scale. I think it'd be easier. Yeah, we're probably going to do that. So unfortunately, it's a little too zoomed out to actually see the names of the cities. But for the sake of comparison, I think it's pretty decent. And what I'm seeing is, we got to keep in mind that the dates of this map is from 22nd of June to 25th of August 1941. So this is really like the first half of Operation Barbarossa. But already we can see some notable clusters. We can see over here, there's the 10th Army that was encircled. We have the 10th Army as well. In here, it also shows the 2nd Army as well, Soviet 2nd Army. And I'm not really sure if that's, at least according to the David Glance sources that I've read, I don't think there was a 2nd Army there that was encircled necessarily. But I know, we definitely know that the 10th Army was the main army that got heavily encircled at the start of Operation Barbarossa. We're talking like the first week of Barbarossa. Then, according to the data table, we started kind of focusing more around Smolensk, right? So we had the 16th Army, the 4th Army, and the 28th Army, which was further south. And according to our source here, we do indeed have another encirclement that's notably large, and it is focused around Smolensk. It's kind of hard to see there, but Smolensk is there underneath all those blue lines. And so according to this source, is the 16th Army and the 20th Army. We have the 16th Army and the 4th Army. I know that the 20th Army was participating in this battle, but I guess presumably it was able to get out of the pocket in one piece. That's the takeaway I'm getting. But this map, for example, has no indication that we have the 28th Army encircled, basically. So there's that. We already have a little discrepancy there. And now, as I work on also presenting myself more formally, we also have here the 6th Army and the 12th Army that were indeed encircled around Uman. And I think we've been able to actually closely match that up pretty well. And it looks like my guesstimation of where Uman is pretty good. So it's somewhere around there. And, you know, we can double check. Yeah, I kind of want to double check myself. We know that Uman's in the Ukraine. We zoom out. And yeah. So maybe it's a little bit more north than what I thought. It's a little bit more north than what I thought, but it's essentially kind of like the halfway point between Kiev and the Black Sea, essentially. More or less. And over here, that's kind of what I presume, really. But if I wanted to fix this, I'd probably move this a little bit more north. Like that. And then, of course, if we go back to our source, yeah, that seems to be pretty closely lined up. So already, what we have is about the first, what is this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, first 9 armies listed that are basically mashing up with operations from 22nd of June to 25th of August 1941, and this source being the West Point's map that they use when it comes to studying the Eastern Front. I wonder if this is what they're still using in 2023. Chances are they probably are. At least some professors are, I imagine. But with that said, now we can move on and we can kind of look at the second half of Operation Barbarossa. And so this is also going to include, technically this map is Operation Typhoon, but you can also see that there's it covers all the events that happened in the battle for Kiev, or Kiev rather, in 1941. And so you can see the dates. It's pretty much the continuation of the last map. We have the 26th of August all the way until the 5th of December 1941. And what we have is, yes, another large Soviet encirclement near Kiev. We have the 5th, 21st, 26th, and 37th Army, according to the West Point source. According to the David Glance source, we have the 5th Army, 26th Army, 37th Army. So we don't have the 21st. But other than that, they seem to match up pretty well. And then, let's see what else. I think there's another encirclement right here that's being shown. This is near Bialystok. I'm presuming this is the 26th Army that's being encircled. This is probably this one. No indication, though, of the 10th Army being encircled in that one city, which was Let's double check our data table. It was, the southwestern axis. So yeah, so chances are that was not the right location to put it, but I'm not really sure where else it would be, frankly. I'm not really seeing, I guess the 10th Army is right here near Tula. Maybe it suffered casualties rather than being encircled. But as far as the larger encirclement that we have here, it is quite large. And here, you know, it says the 19th, 20th, 21st, and 32nd. And then according to the David Clan source that we have, it says we had the 20th, the 19th, the 32nd, 31st, and 24th. So I'm seeing 32nd, 24th, 19th, the 20th, all but the 31st, basically. And so, yeah, again, another case where the source seems to be relatively similar. But nothing shows the 19th being encircled, which is odd. I guess this is because this 19th Army way out here was destroyed a third time. But we also had one more, which was the 40th Army all the way up there in the north. And according to this map, there really is no indication of an encircled army. So maybe this army was very small, or maybe it just got pushed away. But even when I look at the actual numbers that are surrounding the sector, I don't even see the 40th Army there. So it just goes to show that, you know, depending on which source you use, the data is going to vary. I think a big goal in this channel and this work overall is try to be as accurate as we possibly can. I think that's going to be a big goal of ours. And so we're going to have to find a way how to combine these different sources. But for now, you know, this was just the one source right here, right? When Titans clash. You know, I'll put an Amazon link there, of course. But hopefully this video was interesting for anybody out there who is simply curious to know, you know, just how accurate this data was from this one here book. And obviously this is just one little piece of data. There's many more data to cover, but I will make more videos as a result. So that's what I got for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you in the next video. Peace out.